My fellow brothers and sisters, I am sending this to you as a warning. I am serving at an anonymous status. The devil has already finished signing the deals across the world. And this is an anonymous country I visited for work. This is what they are planning. They are planning to sacrifice every citizen so that he can be registered at 666 on his birth. Recently, they've launched. Dear viewers, welcome once again to another educative episode of African Confessions HD, right here on Extraordinary Africa. My name is Solution Uncle. If you're still new in this show, we publish a lifetime confessions. Usually, we publish anonymously for their own safety reasons. Today, we have a must-watch confession. If you have a relative in the developing countries, this is a must-watch confession for them and you so that you can warn them. Listeners, without wasting much of your time, let's go straight into the confession. How are you, Solution Uncle? Please hide my identity when you post. I lived in a small town where jobs were hard to find. Every day I sent out CVs and went to interviews, but I was often turned down. I felt hopeless. Then one day I heard about a job opportunity with the president of a foreign country. It was said to be a great position with a good salary and a chance to make a real difference. I couldn't believe my luck. I quickly prepared for my application process. I polished my resume and wrote a cover letter that highlighted my skills. I applied and waited anxiously for a response. A few days later, I received an email inviting me for an interview. It was ecstatic. When I arrived for the interview, I was nervous but hopeful. The president was charismatic and spoke with confidence. He promised me that I would be part of something big, something that could change lives. He said he needed people who were dedicated and willing to work hard. I felt a spark of excitement. This was my chance. After a few weeks of waiting, I got to the job offer. I was thrilled. I packed my bags and prepared to leave my old life behind. When I arrived in this new country, I was struck by the differences. The city was bustling with activity and people moving quickly. The president welcomed me personally. He was charming and friendly, making me feel important. He introduced me to his team, who were also eager to help. I felt like I had stepped into the world of opportunity. I quickly started my work, feeling grateful for the chance. The office was modern and filled with enthusiastic people. Everyone seemed to be in belief in the president's vision. I wanted to believe too, but there was a nagging feeling in the back of my mind that something was off. As I settled in my role, I began to notice strange things happening. The president often spoke about a kingdom of power that we needed to connect with. He said it would bring us strength and prosperity. At first, I thought it was just motivational talk, but soon his words began to disturb me. The more I learned about the organization, the more I saw its dark side. We held secret meetings where the president spoke passionately about his mission. He claimed that we were chosen to lead others into the kingdom. I felt chill run down. I started to question my involvement. The president's charm was wearing off, and I began to see the manipulation behind his words. I felt trapped, unsure of how to escape this growing darkness. One day, I overheard a conversation between the president and some agents who were based in South Africa and Nigeria. They were discussing plans to link people to the kingdom of the devil. My heart raced as I realized the true nature of our work. It wasn't about helping people, it was about control. I learned that they used tactics to lure individuals into their web. They preyed on vulnerable people, promising them a better life. I felt sick to my stomach knowing I was part of this operation. The agents were skilled manipulators and began to see how they worked. I wanted to confront the president, but I fear held me back. I watched as colleagues became more involved, blinded by the promises of the wealth and power. I felt alone in my growing uneasy. The president was the master of manipulator. He used various techniques to keep under his control. I noticed how he exploited our fears and desires. He would often talk about how the world was dangerous without him. We would fail. His speech were filled with emotional language. He knew how to pull at our heartstrings, making us feel that we needed him. The more I listened, the more I felt caught in a web of lies. He also preyed on our ambitions. Many of us wanted to achieve something great, and he made us believe that joining him was the only way to reach our goal. I watched as my colleagues changed, becoming more devoted to the president and his vision. Every week, the president shared stories about disasters happening around the world. He spoke of wars, famine, and chaos. He wanted us to feel helpless without his guidance. Each story was crafted to reinforce our dependence on him. I watched as fear took hold of my colleagues. They began to believe that the president was our only hope. I felt suffocated by the constant barrage of negative news. It made it harder to think clearly. In private, I tried to discuss my concern with few trusted colleagues. Some were receptions, but others dismissed my fear as paranoia. The president's influence was strong, and I felt more isolated with each passing day. The president knew how to create a sense of belonging. He spoke often about families, loyalty, and life. He painted a picture of us as one big family working towards a common goal. This emotional manipulation drew up in a deeper. I found myself longing for that sense of community. At first, it felt good to be part of something larger than myself. But as time went on, I realized that it was all facade. The more we became like a family, the less we questioned the president's motives. I started to feel guilty for doubting him. He made us believe that any dissent was a betrayal. I struggled internally, torn between my growing doubts and the emotional bonds we had formed. As I became more involved, I noticed how the president encourages us to isolate ourselves from outsiders. He claimed that people outside wouldn't understand our mission and would try to lead us astray. This tactic made it easier for him to control our thoughts. Many of my colleagues began to cut ties with their friends and families. They became more focused on the president's work, abandoning their old lives. I felt a deep sense of loss as I watched this happen. I was scared of what I might lose if I spoke up. I tried to reach out to a friend back home, but the president's warning echoed in my mind. I hesitated, fearing the consequences of questioning his authority. The isolation was suffocating and I felt trapped. The president promised us wealth and success. He painted a picture of a future where we would have everything ever we wanted. Many of us were drawn in by these promises, believing that we could achieve our dreams through his guidance. I started to notice that some colleagues were making sacrifices to prove their loyalty. They worked long hours and ignored their own needs, convinced that their hard work would pay off. I felt pressure to follow suit, even as my doubts grew. The more the president spoke of our potential, the more I realized that his promises were empty. I watched as some of my colleagues became disillusioned by what he was doing. So this man is serving something big, a dark kingdom, where they are working with agents across the world. They have various techniques. Some of those techniques are those techniques I've told you. These people are very dangerous. You need to be very aware. You need to be very aware, especially in cafes, clothes shops, and in public places. They are using those tactics, and techniques which they are using include deception. The president lied about his true intentions to gain trust. They also use emotional manipulation. He played on our hopes and dreams to control us. Social pressure, charismatic leadership, isolation, promises of wealth. If someone is promising wealth, go and do a proper background check or else you are going to be taken. They are using also false prophecies to manipulate you. Propaganda, guilt tripping, crisis creation. They stage a crisis. Use of technology. They are using softwares. They are using various techniques, misleading success stories, share stories tells to inspire false hope, information control. They limit access for you to the Bible. If someone is promising you a job or money, but limiting you to the Bible, doubt that person. Thank you so much, my brother, for sharing this educative story. We need to expose these people, my brother. Anyway, you say, don't. I don't do that for the sake of your own safety. And these are some of biblical principles and advice that might resonate with your situation. The first thing you need, my brother, is to seek wisdom. James chapter 1 verse 5 encourages seeking wisdom from God. Pray for clarity and discernment in your decisions. Seek wisdom. Number 2, trust in God. Proverbs chapter 3 verse 5 to 6 advises you to trust in the Lord with all your heart and not lean on your own understanding. Acknowledge Him and He will direct your path. Avoid deception. First Peter verse 5 chapter 8 warns to be alert of sober mind. The enemy seeks to deceive, to stay vigilant and discerning. Another thing you need to do is to value truth. If you read John chapter 8 verse 32 states that the truth will set you free. Prioritize honesty and integrity in your actions. Then, my brother, you need to support yourself with support. You need to have good friends around you. Bible studying groups. Surround yourself with good people. Yes, be strong and courageous. Even Joshua chapter 1 verse 9 encourages strength and courage. Don't be afraid to stand up for what is right. Don't be afraid to stand up for what is right. Yes, that is. Find peace. It's another thing you need to do. Find peace. Philippians chapter 4 verse 6 to 7 reminds you to not be anxious, but to bring your concern to God in prayer, which will bring peace to your heart. Rely on God's strength. Philippians chapter 4 verse 18 states, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Lean on your faith for strength in challenging times. My brother, lean on your faith for strength in challenging times. You need to evaluate relationships. 2 Corinthians chapter 6 verse 14 advises not to be equally yoked. Be cautious in your associations, especially those that pull you away from your values. Yes. The last thing you need to know, my brother, is you need to act with integrity. Act with integrity. Even Proverbs chapter 11 verse 3 says that integrity of the upright guides them. Make decisions that align with your values and ethics. These are the things you need to do, my brother, because if you fail, you'll be in trouble. Yes. Yes. And you need to avoid these things. The things I'm about to tell you. Here are some things you need to avoid. Deception relationships. Steer clear of people who are dishonest or who manipulate others for their own gain. Avoid isolation. Avoid isolating yourself from friends and family. Maintain connection with those who support and uplift you. Don't do fear-based decision making. Don't make choices based on fear or pressure. Take time to evaluate options thoughtfully. You need to compromise your values. Avoid situations that require you to compromise your morals or beliefs. Even if there is pressure to conform, bring loyalty. Be cautious of the following leaders or groups without questioning their motives. Maintain your critical thinking. Don't neglect yourself. Don't neglect your physical, emotional, or spiritual well-being. Prioritize self-care to stay strong. And you need to avoid overcommitting. Avoid taking on too many responsibilities or commitments that drain your energy and time. Don't engage in gossip and negative talk. Stay away from negative conversations that can sow discord or distance you from your goals. And there are warning signs. Don't overlook red flags in relationships or situations. Trust your instincts and be observant. Avoid help. Don't hesitate to seek help from trusted friends, family, or professionals when you are feeling overwhelmed. By avoiding these pitfalls, you can protect yourself and make healthier choices in your life. I hope we are together, my brother. You need to avoid those things. Listeners, wherever you are listening us from, don't forget to leave your comment. Leave your comments. These are not their own fights, but our fights as a war. We need to help them. At the end, the world is the one to be at the risk. So let's be the security guards. Let's safeguard our community. The most important thing now, before your child goes to school, pray with your children before they leave for school. Teach them to pray. Tell them some of these stories so that they can be aware. The world has become a very dangerous place to live. We need God always. The devil is just waiting for us to relax so that he can come and seize us. Take us our lives. The lives of our children are at risk now. So let's be very careful, listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until we meet again in the episodes. Bye for now.